Welcome back, Nighttime Knights. So today we're going to work on starting the lighting inventory and assessment. Isn't this exciting? But first we're going to start out with an activity. So I want you to print out the fill in the blank worksheet and the lighting vocabulary glossary from the downloadable handout sheet. And on this activity, we're going to learn about some of the vocab that we're going to see while doing our lighting inventory and assessment. Okay, so on the fill in the blank worksheet, you are going to use the glossary to fill in all of the blanks. And then once you have done that, I want you to go through and make sure that you understand the vocabulary. All right, pause here and go ahead and do that activity. Okay, I hope that you guys liked that activity. So for our outdoor lighting inventory and assessment, we are going to complete 6 steps. And I'm going to give a quick overview of the 3 steps that we're going to do today during lesson 6. So those 3 steps are data collection sheets, inventory, and evaluation. So for the data collection sheets, we're going to use these sheets to collect data on your outdoor lights and compile them on those sheets both during the day and after dark. For the inventory, once we have taken all of our data, we are going to compile it all together into an electronic spreadsheet. And then finally, for the evaluation, using our inventory of all of our outdoor lights, you are going to evaluate which lights need to be changed or replaced and which lights are okay. So like I was talking about before, now that we have learned all about light pollution and its causes, effects, and solutions, we are going to complete a lighting inventory and assessment to help improve and decrease light pollution. So I'm going to be completing a lighting inventory and assessment on these videos, and as I do that, you will be following along and doing the same lighting inventory and assessment at your designated property. Maybe that's a park, a school, your house, a library, or something else. So what is a lighting inventory and assessment? Basically, we are going to be taking an inventory of all of the outdoor lighting at your designated property. And after we have that inventory, we're going to evaluate them to see which ones might need to be fixed or changed or improved. So by taking this inventory and assessment, we are going to be able to suggest improvements to the lights so that light pollution in our communities is reduced. All right, so I want you to pause here and think about or discuss how light pollution affects our communities and how specifically this lighting inventory and assessment will help our communities and will help light pollution. All right, so pause here and think about that. Good job discussing. So this lighting inventory and assessment will affect so many things. We will be saving the stars by protecting the night sky. We will be saving energy and money. We will be reducing glare to make our community safer after dark. And we'll also be helping plants, animals, and ourselves, and humans, after dark by reducing our light so that blue light is affecting us less, and it will just help everything around us. All right, so are you ready to get started on our inventory and assessment? So our first step is to talk to someone who is responsible for the property and someone who knows the property well. That way we can ask permission and gather some initial information about the outdoor lighting that we'll be seeing. So go ahead and pause here and think about who you can talk to about your specific property to get permission and gather information. This could be a principal, a parent, a property manager, or someone else. So now that we have gotten permission and guidance, we can start on our lighting inventory. So if possible, it would be really cool to have the property manager or whoever knows the property best to come along with us on our lighting inventory to help us gather information. If not, though, we can do our best to gather all the information and consult them afterwards with any questions that we might have. Alright, but it's always good to remember that even if it's the property manager, a parent, a teacher, whoever it is, we always need to have at least one responsible adult there with us. So our lighting inventory is going to start during the day, even though we use those lights at night. We need to have the daytime light to look at different light fixtures and light bulbs to gather all of the information that we can get during the daytime. And then during the nighttime, we will gather that data. So at each of our light fixtures or light sources, we will need to go through our 5 principles. So take a minute to remind yourself about what those 5 principles are. So that was a lot of information. But during our physical inventory, we will be using our data collection sheets to keep track of all of this information for all of our outdoor lights. Then, we will use our data collection sheets to create an electronic inventory of all of our outdoor lights. And then finally, we will use that inventory to evaluate which lights need to be changed, improved, or replaced. Alright, now let's look at an example of this lighting inventory and the data collection sheets and the evaluation actually happening. So I'm going to be heading down to George Washington High School and I'm going to be creating an inventory of my own to show you how to do this at your property. Let's go! Hey there! So we're going to start on our demo now. I'm here at George Washington High School and we're going to be talking about the data collection sheet and the inventory, which is the first part of our lighting inventory and assessment. So throughout our data collection sheet and talking through these lights, we want to remember our 5 principles. So that is useful, targeted, low light levels, controlled, and color. So make sure you remember that throughout this video. Alright, now we're going to be starting on our data collection sheet. I have mine here. And this is the first light that we're going to be talking about. So this light's location and purpose, we are right by a sidewalk in a parking lot. So this is lighting up the sidewalk and the parking lot for people who are here at night. And then for the photo order, we want to make sure that we're taking a picture of all of our lights so that we have a record of what they look like and so that we can remember which light we're talking about. So for mine, this is our first light, so it is photos 1 and 2. I took 2 pictures of it, one at the daytime and one at the nighttime. So for the type of fixture, you might have been able to guess, this is a barn light, and it uses a high pressure sodium lamp, which we can see if we look right up at the barn light. And there are 4 all along this sidewalk, so we can write down that there are 4 at this location. And there are some others of this kind of light on the other side of this building, but we want to only write down the amount that are at this location. But we can use the same information, but we just have to log it at a different location to make sure we know where they are. So now that we know all about this light, we want to look at those 3 qualities that we talked about: the wattage, the lumens, and the color temperature. So on our data collection sheet, we only need to worry about the wattage and the color temperature. So again, when we're filling out the data collection sheet, we want to make sure that we're with at least one responsible adult and the property manager or someone who knows about these lights that we'll be seeing. So I'm here with the responsible adult and the property manager, and so I have talked with them about the wattage and the color temperature of this light. So this light's wattage is 150 watts and its color temperature is about 2200. And we will use those later to, mostly the wattage. Remember we have that chart that tells us the wattage compared with lumens of certain lights from certain companies. And so we will use that later when we're filling out our inventory to figure out the lumens of this light. So finally, we have two more questions. Does this light need attention? And this is where we want to look back at our 5 principles. This light does need attention because if you look, this light would probably create a lot of glare, and it's not very targeted. It's kind of sending light everywhere. So one thing with this, we could put a shield on it, but with this sort of light, a shield might be really expensive, and just replacing the light would only be a little bit more expensive, and it would allow us to use an LED bulb, which is a lot more efficient and therefore saves us a lot of energy, money, and power. So this light, for the replacement options, it would probably be best, we'll talk about this in the next lesson, but it would probably be best to go ahead and just replace it all. Alright, here is our second fixture. We're outside of the headmaster's house. And so for the location, on the data collection sheet, we put outside of the headmaster's house. And this is where he parks his car. So it does serve a purpose, which is good. That's one of our 5 principles. And for the photo order, I put photo number 3. For the type of fixture, this is a little bit different than the ones we've been talking about. It's called a wall sconce, and this is used in more residential areas. For the type of lamp, it is an incandescent bulb. For the number at this location, there are 2. For the wattage, again, we talked to the property manager, and they told us that it is about 60 watts. And they also helped us use our app to find the color temperature, which is 2700 Kelvin. So for the needs attention, this one does need attention. And we're going to talk about the replacement fixtures next lesson. But going through our 5 principles, what do you notice about this type of fixture? So as you can see, it is surrounded in glass, which spreads the light everywhere, so it's not very targeted, and it could also create a lot of glare when it is on. Alright, so for the rest of this demo, we're going to be looking at pictures so that you are able to get a better look at this light specifically. So for this light, its location/purpose is that it's a light over a doorway, and so it's at entrance number 7. The type of fixture is, it's just a bare bulb, so it's not really a fixture, it's mostly just a light bulb. And the type of lamp is, it is an incandescent bulb. So there's only one at this location, and the estimated wattage is about 75 watts. The estimated color temperature is about 2700 Kelvin. And this one does need attention because, as we can see, it's not really shielded. And it can create glare, and it also really needs a timer. Okay, here we are at photo number 4, and this is a light at an outdoor classroom. So it's used to illuminate the walkway and the outdoor classroom. The type of fixture is, it's a spotlight with an LED lamp, and there are 2 at this location. The estimated wattage is about 8 watts for each bulb, so that means 16 watts per double fixture. And the color temperature is about 4000 Kelvin, so that's pretty high. So we do want to recommend a replacement because, as we can see in this picture, it would be creating a lot of glare. And we can also see that it is covered by a cover on top, and so it isn't creating as much light pollution as it would without that cover, but it still would be creating a lot of light pollution. So for a recommended replacement, we would want to have a fully shielded wall pack, and we would also want to lower the kelvins on it so that it doesn't have so much light in the blue wavelength. Also, we would want it to be on a timer with the appropriate amount of lumens. Okay, So here we are at photo number 6, and this is outside of the Performing Arts building. It is a light in the ceiling, as you can see, and the type of fixture is called a recessed can. And we haven't talked about this too much, but as we can see, it's kind of put up into the ceiling, so it's recessed into the ceiling. And it is a CFL lamp. There are 3 at this location, and the estimated wattage is about 19. The estimated color temperature is about 3000 Kelvin. This one does not need attention. It's fully shielded, and so as we can see, it would not be creating that glare that we don't like, because if we're looking at the light from the side, we're not able to see the bulb at all. And also, it is only on during evening events, which is another great thing about this light. Okay, here's photo number 8. This is also outside of the Performing Arts building. You might recognize that same ceiling, but this light is on the pillar. And there are about 6 at this location. The type of fixture is floodlights with LED lamps. The estimated wattage is about 60 watts, and the color temperature is about 3000 Kelvin. So this light does not need attention. And although it is pointed upwards, because of that ceiling that is over it, it is actually going to be reflected off of the ceiling and would be pushed back down onto the sidewalk below it. And so, again, this is targeted at the entry ceiling for indirect lighting. And also, it is only on during evening events in this building. So we would not want to recommend a replacement for these lights. Okay, so this is a light on the south sidewalk. So it is a pole-mounted area light, that is the type of fixture, and it has an LED lamp. There are 3 of these at this location, and the estimated wattage is 50 watts. The estimated color temperature is 2700 Kelvin. So this light does not need attention. As we can see, it does not create glare, because one of the most important things we can look for at our outdoor lights during this inventory is whether we are able to see the bulb when looking at it from the side. So for this one, we would not. And if we are able to see the bulb, that means that it does create glare. So because we can't see the bulb, this one would not create glare. Also, the wattage, lumens, color temperature, and timing are all set just right for this light at this location. So again, this one we would not want to recommend a replacement for. Okay, so our second to last light is a light in the parking lot. And this is another pole-mounted area light, and that is what any of these lights that is on a pole would be called. It has an LED lamp, and there are 8 in this particular parking lot. The estimated wattage is about 54 watts, and the estimated color temperature is about 3000 Kelvin. So for this one, we would not want to recommend a replacement, so it does not need attention. And this is because it is fully shielded, so it wouldn't really be creating glare or adding a whole lot to the light pollution of this area. However, we would want to include in our final report that a future replacement should consider using 2200 Kelvin. But we wouldn't want to indicate that for right now because it's a relatively new light, and so the property manager was saying that they wouldn't necessarily consider changing the lights right now, but we would want to note that in the future, the next time that this light needs to be changed, then they should consider a lower Kelvin rating. And also, this light is already on a timer to only use at night when it's occupied. So again, this light would not need attention. Alright, this is our final light. So this light is over the training room, and it does serve a purpose because there is a door entrance right below it. This light is a wall pack with a metal halide bulb, and it has 100 watts. Its Kelvin rating is 4200, and doesn't need to be changed. You can look at it to see, and it does need to be replaced because, as we can see, it creates a lot of glare, and it might be pretty bright, but we do know the Kelvin rating, and the Kelvin rating is super high. It is over 4,000 kelvins, which means that it has a lot of light in the blue wavelength. So not only do we want to target this and make sure that it is on a timer or has a motion detector, but we also want to change its Kelvin rating because right now it is harmful to all of the living things around it. Okay, so here is the top 4 lights of the data collection sheet that I filled out while looking at these lights. So you can go ahead and pause here if you would like to look at my example to get a good idea of what you will be doing for your data collection sheet. And now we're going to go look at how all of this data collection sheet and all of these lights fit into our electronic inventory. Okay, Nighttime Knights, now it is time to create our electronic inventory. So here is my sample inventory from those lights that I showed you all from George Washington High School. So as we can see, we pretty much took everything from the data collection sheet and added it to this online spreadsheet. And then this is also where we're going to be doing our evaluation. So this is the first half of it, and you can go ahead and pause here if you want to look at what I put here, and you can compare it to your own inventory and see how similar or different they might be. Alright, so here's the second half of my sample lighting inventory that you can look at and compare with your own. And I want to point out that I haven't put in the nighttime photos because I haven't gone to George Washington High School at night, but once I do that, I will put in those nighttime pictures here. And again, this spreadsheet, format of the spreadsheet can be downloaded from txnsf.org. And finally, we're going to talk about the evaluation here. And this is what we talked about when we were doing the data collection sheet under that question, does this light need attention? We will basically be looking at the 5 principles and seeing what needs to be fixed or improved or replaced or anything like that for each of these lights. And that is what our evaluation will be like. It will be, does this light need attention? And do we need to do anything to make this light better, or to change or replace or anything about this specific light? Alright, great job completing those data sheets, getting permission, doing the inventory, and evaluating the lights. Next lesson, we will be finishing up our lighting inventory and assessment. Alright, see you next lesson, Nighttime Knights.